Hello, everybody. I'm Barb Owen of HowToGetCreative.com, and this is my guest, Clausman, who is otherwise known as my husband, RL. And he's got some stuff to show you today. What are you going to show us today?
Hey, what I'm going to show today are pliers. There are all different kinds of pliers.
Well, what in the world is a plier anyway?
A plier is something that is, well, it's something that does this.
Well, what are you supposed to do with that? Grab something?
All right, this you grab something with it. This particular plier is called a slip lock plier because you move it over and you see how it doesn't close all the way. Move it over that way and you can get a hold of something smaller and tighter.
Why don't you show that to him up close over there?
Okay. See what we're doing? I can slip that down like that, and that will make it larger. So you can see it's not even closing up.
So you get a hold of something.
Get a hold of something that's larger.
Yeah.
And down here, you may not be able to get a hold of something this big in that position.
I even have some of those in my toolbox.
I know you do. I know you do.
I like those pliers.
Yeah, I do too. And they are pretty much a plier that a lot of people use.
So what else you got?
All right, the next one that I'm going to show is a channel lock. This, you can adjust the size of it. See, that's as far as it will close now. And they call them channel locks because of these channels that are in here. And
so what would you get a hold of if you were using that one?
Well, you could get a hold of this. Actually would work with a piece of pipe. It would work with a nut, or a nut that is that size. Or you can get a hold of a nut that's that size.
So what does this locking thing mean?
That locks it in position so it doesn't slip. It won't slip when you close it up.
That's cool. Very
All
cool.
right.
Okay, what else you got? You got something else here.
Now, let's go to this one.
Okay.
These are called Lineman's pliers. They're used by electricians and actually even linemen, I guess you'd say, because they are
this way so they can see. That's a really big plier.
They are a lot larger than, they're a lot larger than a lot of pliers, and they also have a wire cutter built into them there.
That is one big plier.
Let's show it over here and show a little close up. See there?
Get these over here so they can really see that one.
Okay. See that? And this area right up here, this area right in here is a wire cutter. Or
I bet that cuts some serious wire too.
Yes, or a cable cutter. Yes,
okay.
It will cut some serious wire. It sure will.
That's
because of the long handles, you have a lot of leverage.
Cool. Okay, what else?
All right. The next one is a crimper, a wire stripper, and a wire cutter. See, there's a wire cutter there. This up here, this area up here, actually gauges the size of the wire that you're dealing with. You can't see that because it's black, but that's it. These are different sizes, holes. There we go. That tells you what size it is. That would be a number 6. Number 4, and that tells you. And then you put your wire in here, in this area. You put your wire in this area, push it down, and that cuts the plastic on the outside of the wire. Then you just pull this off like that, and that pulls the plastic off of the...
So what did you call that plier again?
This one it's actually a crimping tool for, you can get it, I didn't bring them in, but you can get fittings that fit over wires, and you put them, and I'm going to try it on this, you put them in there and then squeeze that down, and that crimps this around the wire.
So it's more of an electrician's
It's
plier.
an electrician for cars.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's probably used in cars more than it is in electrical in houses and this kind of thing because of the size of the wire and you might not want to use this a lot on a 110 or 220 volt.
I like it
setup.
because it's got all those numbers on it. It gives you information
Yeah.
right there
Well,
on the tool.
it tells you exactly what size of wire that you're working with and what it's going to do for you.
Okay, so what else we got?
All
There's
right.
a whole pile over here. What have we
All
got
right, the
now?
next one. This is called a side cutter, and that cuts wire. It will cut a small cable. It could cut a small bolt, but when you cut with this, this is beveled here, as you can see. This is at an angle, here to here. You're going to end up with a sharp point or a sharp kind of a knife kind of a thing on the end of your wire. Now, when you're working with smaller wires, you want to see this one?
Yeah, just show them those cutting surfaces up close.
Okay, well this, you can see the back. See how that is, this goes in right here.
So in other words, it's not going to make a smooth,
It's not going to make a flat
cut.
cut.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
It's going to have a beveled
It's
cut.
going to have a bevel cut, which will leave it sharp. Mm-hmm. Now, when I'm working with jewelry stuff, jewelry wire, this kind of thing, I like to use what you call a flush cutter, which is this one right here. And on one side, you can see it's beveled.
So it does a beveled cut also.
It has this
No,
doesn't.
it doesn't.
No,
Okay.
it does on one side.
Okay.
Turn it over, and you close it, and see this is straight up and down.
So it depends on how you hold the tool as to the
Absolutely.
kind of cut you get.
Absolutely.
Oh,
And
that's
if you're
cool.
working on a piece of wire, and the piece you're working on, you want it to be, straight up and down, you use that side, to whichever direction that you want to use it.
Okay, so speaking of jewelry, what else you got going here?
Well, I've got some odds and ends of jewelry pliers that I have here that I use quite a bit of the time. Let's see. Let's start with this is fine. These are flat nose pliers. You can see, looking at them at that angle, the nose of them is flat. The inside of them is smooth. That way, when I'm dealing with wire, when I'm wire wrapping something or something like that, it doesn't scratch the wire.
Yeah, that's important in jewelry.
Absolutely is. And the reason, see this now, the difference,
Different sizes.
what I'm showing here now is just the different sizes of these, and these are just a few of what's available.
Yeah.
This one over here is also a flat nose plier, but it's got nylon in here. So when you get a hold of a piece of wire to twist it or to do something like that, you're not going to scratch the wire with the metal.
So that protects.
That protects the wire or whatever surface you're working on. You may be working on a piece of copper or something.
So why do you have multiple pairs of these pliers?
Well, the main reason is because you're dealing with multiple sizes of bends and lengths of wires around things that you're shaping,
and
that you're working with.
Sometimes your fingers are too big and you
And
end up.
that is most of the time, your fingers are too big. That's one thing about pliers. One of the things they're designed for is to give you leverage over whatever you're working with. That gives you leverage of it, and if it's working with something that's hot, hey, the heat goes here rather than into your hand.
So it's kind of like an extension of your hand, but also protection.
That's exactly right. All right. Now, these are what you'd call needle nose or chain nose. That just depends on who you talk to. Some people call them chain nose, some people call them needle nose. Now, this one happens to be for electrical uses because see these divots in here. You can literally mash some crimps some things together to hold them in place.
So you're not going to use this for jewelry?
No, absolutely not. They're way too big. Yeah. And on top of that, the inside here, you can see in the jaws here, they're serrated, they're rough. And that would just scar up your jewelry wire.
Scar your wire, yeah.
Yes.
Unless you wanted to texturize it.
And you could do that if you're good enough.
Yeah.
Now, just to show you on these right here, see, they're smooth. They're smooth inside here. Mm-hmm. And that's for a reason. That way they don't...
So why do you use the chain nose? Why do you use this versus the flat nose?
Well, if you're working with something small,
you need a smaller tool, right?
You need a smaller tool. That's all there is to it. You just need a smaller tool to work with something small. And this is just an example of the difference. These are both chain nose or needle nose pliers, and look at the top of them. See how long this one is?
Yeah.
And how short this other one is. And it just depends on what you're doing as to what you use for what plier you pick up.
The right tool for the right job.
That's one of the things you learn as you go along. Now, these pliers are round nose pliers. You can see that the nose of them are round. These are two different sizes. In fact, I probably have another one or two. And you can use those to make things like jump rings, which is this kind of a thing here that's...
Why don't you show that to them over there so they can see it up close a little bit.
There we go. Yeah. A jump ring that you use in jewelry, those can be made with these round nose pliers.
So you can make them out of different kinds of wire, right?
You sure can. And this wire right here is silver plate. This is silver plate, silver plated wire. This is just regular old copper wire that came from the hardware store.
So you can actually create those jump rings by winding that wire around different parts of this.
Different parts and make those different size. Yeah. And I have these in a number of different sizes that to use for that kind of thing. Okay, now this one. This is just a interesting pair of pliers. It's a pair of pliers that and I turned it that way so you could see the nose of it is bent. I don't think I did that. I think they came that way.
Yeah.
But that will let you get back into, if you get a hold of it like this, you could get back into an area that you can't get a pair of pliers into, maybe.
And I've seen some people use them this way. I've seen some people use them and grab wire and stuff
you can,
that
sure,
way.
Absolutely can.
So it's kind of a multi-purpose.
Right, and if this is the one that you have picked up and have in your hand, my goodness, just turn it over and use it the other way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I see some things here that you might show them, some things that we've created, some you've done, some I've done, and you've used these different pliers, the jewelry pliers, to make some of these things, right?
Yes. Let's go over here.
Okay.
You can see that piece. I'll get it here where you can see it. See that? Now this circle up here, I could do that by hand, or use a pair of pliers. I use a pair of flat nose pliers that are smooth to make that embellishment up there.
So I'm just gonna guess that on this one piece right here, I'm gonna guess that you've used flat nose, round nose, and chain nose pliers, all three.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Because see, if nothing else, when I made this hoop, that was done with the round nose pliers.
Turn it a little bit so they can see that. So they can see that loop. Yeah, see that?
See, that was done with the round nose pliers.
Yeah. So it keeps that loop nice and open.
And it keeps it, yes, it keeps it nice and open and makes it pretty smooth.
Okay, show them these other pieces so they can see some other things that we've
All right,
we've done.
You can see here's one here that's got two different kinds of wire on it, copper wire and brass wire. Both of these wires, literally, this is brass, this is copper, and both of those wires literally came from the hardware store.
But again, you use all these pliers.
Use these pliers to do this. Here's another one. Use these pliers to make these.
And that's a good example of using the flat nose right here.
Yes, absolutely
where you
is.
crimp those wires down, right?
Wrap these wires around here, and then just squeeze them down with the flat nose pliers.
So it makes a nice
and that
flat.
makes them nice and flat and locks them in place.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you've got this kind of thing. This is a piece of tiger eye, I think it is. Doesn't matter. That these circles, most of these circles in here were made by hand, with your fingers. But some of this up here was done with a pair of flat nose pliers.
Yeah, especially like when you're getting things hooked together in the end, you have to use, your fingers are too big, so you end up having to use those pliers to, I mean, you've got to use...
using a needle nose pliers when you're hiding, say you're hiding the ends of some of this stuff to keep it from poking or dragging on something, you need those needle nose pliers or the chain nose, whichever you want to call them, to bend that over and bring it back underneath something to keep it out of the way. And here's another one that, I've got it right side up. See, and a lot of this was done with the fingers, but still yet there's some little bit of it in there that was done with pliers.
Well, for example, like when you come around with these, see how turn that just a little bit so they can see how it's hooked on. See those hooks that come around there? You've got to use pliers to do that because your fingers can't bend that.
Your fingers won't do that. No,
yeah,
your fingers won't
cannot
do that.
Bend that.
And that's what you would use your needle nose or your chain nose pliers to do that. And having the different size chain nose pliers really comes in handy.
Yeah. So again, it's like you have to have the right tool for the right job.
That's exactly right.
Because if you don't, you just frustrate yourself.
Yes.
And I don't know about the rest of you people, but frustration is just not something I want to get into today.
No, I hear you.
Well, hey, thanks for telling us, giving us information about pliers. There's a lot of pliers. I learned some stuff today.
And that just touches the surface.
Exactly.
You know, there's a lot of information about pliers that I didn't even get into.
Yeah. So you know where you go if you want to learn more about how to do stuff and how to create.
I do.
You go to HowToGetCreative.com, where you're going to find all different kinds of creative arts classes. And we're just getting into doing some jewelry making things over there. Just starting to record some classes about jewelry making. And we are just having a great time over there. So we invite you to come over and spend some time with us at HowToGetCreative.com. I'm Barb Owen. This is Clausman, a.k.a. R.L. Owen. And we want to tell you to remember to get creative today because you know...
It's easy.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.